It's another beautiful day here in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Hey guys, how you doing? I'm just enjoying my day here. I want to try to answer some questions that people have about Japan. I got a message here from a guy in Norway. He says he's going to finish his degree, and after he does that, he's going to go to Japan for a month. He says, I'd like to know, what things do foreigners have to be careful about when visiting Japan? Alright, if you're talking about your physical safety and you're a guy, you're pretty much okay everywhere you go. I've never had any problems. I lived in the worst neighborhoods in Osaka. Walking around at midnight, I've never had any problems. So next, I just wanted to mention some things that you might want to be aware of before you go to Japan. These things might help you like kind of understand it better before you get there. One thing is that, and I just made some notes, before I made this video, really quick. There's tons of things actually, but I'm just going to mention a few. So one thing is that people don't mean what they say. For example, when you come to Japan, a nice pretty girl might smile at you and say, "Oh, we should meet up again," but she's just saying that to be polite. She doesn't really mean it. Or people will say, "Oh, your Japanese is so good," but they're just being polite. I mean, your Japanese sucks, but they're just being polite. Be prepared for walking into a restaurant or a store, and let's say in a restaurant, and seeing everything in kanji, and not being able to understand anything and not having an English menu. So basically what you're going to have to do is just go by the pictures if they have them. A good place to go for people who can't read Japanese if they're visiting Japan is to go to these restaurants where you just put your money into a machine and there's pictures of the food that they have, and you just press the button for that picture. It drops out a ticket and you hand that to the waitress and she brings you your order. That's probably the simplest thing to do. There's a lot of restaurants like that in the big cities. Another thing I wrote down is streets don't have names. Like in America, every street has a name, but in Japan, it's just like a cho, which means, it's called a cho. In Japanese, cho means area, I guess, or neighborhood. So neighborhoods have names, but individual streets don't have names. Credit cards aren't used a lot in Japan. They're not as common as they are in the West. People usually pay by cash everywhere they go. People will approach you to speak English if you look friendly or approachable. I get that a lot. I got it a lot when I first came to Japan. I still get it in Japan. Don't think that they want to be your friend or that they're personally interested in you. They just want to practice Japanese, and once they get off, then they're going to go their own way. But that's not to say you can't make a special connection with someone. It's possible. And there's also the possibility that you may not be approached at all. Japanese people are very introverted. If you don't look like an approachable person or a friendly person or whatever, your aura, you might not get approached at all. You might feel very isolated because Japanese people don't seem friendly. There was a guy who came to Japan, one of my viewers, and he said he was in Japan for a whole month and nobody ever came up and talked to him. And I saw his picture and he was a decent looking guy, so I don't know what the deal was, but he felt very lonely and isolated. Be prepared for very punctual trains. Like, I guess in the West or in other countries in the West, a train schedule is more like a suggestion, whereas in Japan, it's like if the train says it's going to come at 5:31, it arrives on the dot almost 100% of the time. Be prepared to take off your shoes if you go into somebody's house. They get very agitated if you don't take off your shoes. You look stupid, so just be prepared for that. Be prepared for washiki toilets. Those are Japanese style toilets. It's basically a hole in the ground and you squat over it. If you go into a bathroom, usually there's one stall that has a Western style toilet and another stall that has the Japanese style toilet. So if you walk into a public bathroom and you open the door and there's just a hole in the ground, that's a Japanese style toilet. Look at the other stall. There might be a Western toilet there, hopefully. And lastly, if you're going in the summer, it's going to be very hot. And I just don't mean hot. I mean like it's jungle hot. Like there's all these cicadas chirping. There's like a million of them chirping at the same time, and it's just like if you walk through a park, it's ear piercing. It's so humid. You're just gonna have sweat like dripping down your face, all up in your crack. I mean, you're gonna feel nasty, and be prepared for that. And bring lots of water. And if you don't deal well with heat and getting worked up, you might not want to come in July or August or early September. So that's some things to expect when you come to Japan.